Welcome, everyone, to a discussion about the 2022 Music City Film Critic Association nominations. If you followed along today on Twitter at MCFCA 615, you saw the nominations were announced. A brief rundown before I introduce our guest. Everything Everywhere All at Once led the way with 12 nominations. Babylon a close second with 10 nominations. Banshees scored 8, Top Gun Maverick, The Fabelmans, and Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio scoring 7. Today, we're not going to bore you with going through every single category. We'll just highlight some of these stuff throughout. I just want to snag a few of my fellow members of the Music City Film Critic Association. First up, we have the president of the Music City Film Critic Association. Sean, how are you today, bud?
Doing great. We're getting over the New Year hump. It's going to be a great year, but first we got to get through our awards for our group. So exciting times. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm sure you're busy. You're counting. You know what 1 + 1 is now, I'm sure, because you count the ballots. So all I know is I'm excited for one of the films that was nominated. We'll talk about that here in a few minutes. But thanks for joining us, Sean. And, of course, joining us from the Film Optics Podcast, Mr. Christian. How are you, bud?
Hey, what's going on? Glad to be back. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been a wild, crazy year, 2022, and our nominations are in, and we're here to talk about the nominations, have a good time. And man, I have just been trying to catch up on so much that I wasn't able to catch up, towards the tail end of the year. But I'm very excited to talk about our Music City Film Critics Association nominations here today.
Yeah, I am as well. It's definitely one of those years where it's like there's a lot of good movies. You know what I mean? I felt like this was a year that really was fruitful. I know some people have said it was a down year, but for me personally, when I was filling out my ballot, I really struggled in certain areas that I was like, man, there's multiple picks. I love the 3. I know I love only having the 3 choices because it really makes you sit down and really kind of figure out where you want to go with those 3 picks. But Sean, first to you, what was the biggest surprise for you when you tallied the votes together?
I think the biggest surprise probably was just the love for Babylon from our group. And that's not a bad thing. I think the film's good, and I think it's going to be even better as time goes on. I really do think, just out of all this, we knew that Everything Everywhere All at Once was going to have a big presence. Not just us, but we've seen other critics groups and guilds, etc. But I was like, I wasn't sure what was going to be second or what was going to be the second most talked about thing. But I got to say, though, Babylon, it was the biggest surprise from everything from picture to director and especially actor. Very good performance in that. But just Babylon up and down the board. Our association loved it. So.
Christian, what about you? What is something surprised you about the nominations?
Oh my God, I might get fired for this, but I was surprised about, I would actually say Tar, because for me, the story was okay for me. I thought it was, wonderfully shot. The cinematography was amazing. The writing was there, but I don't know, for some reason, like when I watched it, I was like, oh, it was like, it has Cate Blanchett, like that's a big seller for it. But for it to be ending up in the best picture for our association, I was actually more surprised for that. And also RRR, because I know some people have been talking about it, but others haven't. So I wasn't sure about the legs that it had, at least for us altogether. But those would probably be the 2 biggest surprises for me.
Also joining the show from Geek Vibes Nation, Mr. Dom. How are you, bud?
I'm good, man. Had some technical difficulties, man.
It's all right, man. It happens. Technology can be, very painful at certain points. But the question was, what was the biggest surprise of the nominations that you thought of this morning?
I think surprising was some things that were missing for me. I'm surprised I didn't see Bodies pop up. I'm surprised I didn't see Tanakh as Namor pop up for supporting. And I'm really surprised that the menu didn't pop up anywhere. So yeah, that was for me. It was more things that were missing than because the ones that popped up that we all nominated, that I knew certain ones. So there's some I didn't necessarily write down. I was like, it's gonna pop up. Let me try to fight for this one, and hopefully someone else thinks the same. But it didn't happen on some of them.
There's definitely a strategy approach whenever you're sitting there, because for me, it's like, I put Babylon very high in certain areas that might have been not as high in my personal, just because I'm like, I am going to fight to the death for this film. And that's obviously my biggest surprise of the day was Babylon, and how it just didn't get picture. It did get the actor. It did get actress. It did get director. But I also say that another thing that surprised me was Mia Goth and Pearl. Like, that one really, like, I didn't love Pearl as a collective whole, but her performance is insane in that film. Like, it's just absolutely insane. So I love that performance in there. All right, now I'm going to turn the tables around a little bit. Christian, and you kind of, touch on a little bit. What's something that surprised you that missed in the nominations?
I'm glad you asked. So, Rosalind is streaming on Hulu as Caitlin Dever. The, if you're not sure who she is, she's in Booksmart, Unbelievable on Netflix. If you watched Last Man Standing, that's kind of like where she got her start with the sitcom with Tim Allen. I was very surprised that Rosalind was not on the Best Comedy nomination, because I thought that movie was hilarious, like through in and throughout. But that was one big, like, oh my gosh, like, what? Like, it's not here, because I was fighting for that movie. But that's just me. Everything else, I feel as if it's not run of the mill. Actually, there's another one, Wendell and Wild. That's another one that really shocked me, because I watched it and I was like, the animation style, the aesthetic is phenomenal. But when it came to the story, like, it started off very strong for me, and then it started to kind of like teeter off. But I didn't see a lot of people talk about this move or Wendell and Wild throughout the year. And I was like, it probably doesn't have like a lot of legs, but it ended up on our Best Animated Film nomination. So that was a big, like, surprise for me.
It shocked me as well, because there's about 82 stories going on in that movie at one time. It's beautiful to look at, but there's like 82,000 different things going on. Sean, same question to you. What's kind of something that's surprised you that missed overall?
I think for me, it's probably it gets 2 Best Supporting Actor nominations, Best Supporting Actress, and a Best Actor nomination, and doesn't get Best Ensemble, which is Banshees of Inisherin. I was very shocked that one didn't get, because that to me has the core 4 best performances collectively in one film this year, and it misses the mark there. I was very surprised by that as the votes were coming in, and just was completely shocked by that. So that would definitely be the one that surprised me in terms of missing. I think the other thing is I was expecting, I think, more love for Black Panther Wakanda Forever as well.
Same.
I was kind of surprised by that as well. I wasn't saying it was going to get like nominated for literally everything, but I was surprised that the film in general didn't get more buzz from us. So.
Dom, to you?
I'm really surprised, and this could just be me because he pissed me off through the entire film. But Tom Hanks for Elvis for supporting, because that dude, I wanted to fight him the whole movie, which made it that much better for me that I feel like he should have been on that list, and that Danielle Deadwyler was missing for Till for Best Actress. It's. There's certain trends that we knew were going to pop up. Like, at least for me personally, I knew Babylon was going to pop up a lot, because once I saw it, I was like, if this is not on here, I'm fighting everybody. And everything everywhere is in my top for almost everything. But yeah, and I think some studios did themselves a disservice by not putting some films in theaters for a little bit, because there are some great streaming movies that you're like, well, sorry, you guys should at least give it a 2-week run. Because I mean, I've seen Prey is on a lot of people's top films, but I don't think it had a theatrical release, so
Nope.
it's just out there in limbo.
Yes, it's on streaming for Hulu. That's another one for. Well, I mean, I don't personally consider Prey a horror movie, but the thriller aspects, I was like, okay, I feel like it could have just been thrown into the horror thing, because a lot of people do. But that was another, like, I was very surprised there was no love for that.
Yeah. I think at least for Disney, for that one, it was more so a risk for them to release it, even with the filmmaker behind it and it being low budget, to market it and release it in theaters after the last two Predator movies have really not been successful box office wise. I think they didn't want to take that gamble, regardless of the filmmaker, who is a great filmmaker. But it could have wound up being something that surprised and done very well if it was in theaters. But I can't also blame them for being hesitant about that, given where the franchise has gone over the past couple of movies before that. So,
yeah, I wish it would have came out. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's something like that to me is like people showed up because it was easy to watch. You know what I mean? In the confines of your house. Like, how many people would have seen that trailer and showed up in theaters? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the big thing.
That's a good point. Yeah.
There's a lot of movies that it's like, I mean, have a cult following online. It's like, man, why didn't I get to see this in theater? It's because most times it's like, I think Sean, a good point there is just like, it's the hit and miss of the franchise. And it's like, well, yeah, obviously it's good to look back now and say, man, that would have been really good in theaters. But if it would have released in theaters and bombed, then it would have been like, we're not going to get any more films of this style. And now I know they're talking about making another one and stuff like that. Maybe the next one will be released in theaters. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. But,
and we're going to come back to this conversation again amongst film Twitter and just in general online articles, where when the next Alien movie, which is going straight to Hulu, same thing. If it turns out to be very good, then we'll be right back in the same boat. But that's just like the Predator franchise. It's another franchise where you're not exactly sure what you have, no matter who is behind it, even though Ridley Scott isn't behind this. Another really talented filmmaker is going to be behind it. But again, you don't know the risk coming into that, because it could be something great like one of the original Alien movies, or it could be something like Alien Covenant, which I was not big on. So
yeah, I guess it is easier to throw something on streaming, test the water, see how it is. Pixar's a different story though, but because all their stuff should be going out there. But that does make sense. Hopefully we will at least get a physical release of Prey, and then if they decide to make another one, you know, more people will be hopefully inclined to go to the theater. But it's different. It's so different now. I mean, Disney loves streaming. You know, half of their stuff that they put on Disney Plus doesn't even come to physical because it's made for that service, which I totally understand. But yeah, I was just surprised it didn't end up on our list. But yeah.
Best actress, I was surprised not to see Michelle Williams. I was happy not to see Michelle Williams, don't get me wrong, because I think the big problem there is category placement. If she's supporting, I'm sure some people who love the film, which our group did like the film, as you can see, it is sprinkled throughout this entire thing. And that's a big thing, obviously, as well. When you're in the position that we're in, there's going to be movies that we absolutely just do not like that are going to end up on these lists. And that's perfectly fine. Obviously, always shows the diversity of our group as well. I was a little upset about Women Talking not performing a little bit better.
I agree. I
thought with Sarah Polley not being on director's list really hurts my heart, because I feel like she directed the hell out of that movie. I love that movie quite a bit with the performances, and She Said underperforming really hurt my heart too, because I love She Said quite a bit. But it's obviously at the same time with She Said, it's part of the trend that we've seen on a lot of the critic groups is She Said's not really performing well there, and neither is Woman Talking, because for me personally, Ben Whishaw gives an incredible performance. And then, of course, Bones and All not being on this list really hurts my heart.
I think that also it hurts with
Mark Rylance is just.
I think it also sometimes the late push or the late release, like Babylon, helps, and then sometimes if you're in that weird middle position where a lot of people were seeing She Said and Women Talking around like November, you already kind of have. It's hard to like replace some of those lists already. You're like, can I take this one out and then put that? I don't know. you know.
And I think it is unfortunate we don't get Sarah in there for women talking. You know, and then I look at the list here. I'm just looking at stuff from the Italian and stuff, and I just look at all the directors here that are in this group, and it was a really strong director year.
It was.
From top to bottom, and I was very surprised too that James Cameron didn't get in there, or Baz Luhrmann. But when you also have Todd Field and SS from RRR and Damien Chazelle, Spielberg, Daniels, Martin, that's the one probably category out of all the categories was probably the toughest in terms of who to pick. And it's unfortunate that some people get left out of that one. The good thing I like about our group is, and I'm not sure if many people know, but this is our 5th year of the association being together. And in the 3 of the first 4 years, the winner of Best Director has been a female, which I am pretty proud of that. So
absolutely, yeah. That's one thing when you hunker down and look at the director race, it's pretty deep. There's a lot of great direction this year. Even movies that I don't particularly love, I loved it. I'm not a big Banshees guy. I liked Banshees. Don't get me wrong. I liked the film. I just didn't think that it overall worked as well for me as there, but it's strongly directed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, It's hard to look at the list and say who I would take out for Polly. I mean, I personally have a preference of who I'd take out. I'd probably take Spielberg out. But, I'd even probably take the Daniels out, honestly. Sorry, everybody. But those two just come out to look real quick. Now, before we go here, I'm going to go over some of the best actor, best supporting actress. I'll just pass it around the table, give everybody just quick thoughts on what they think of the category. For supporting actress, we had Angela Bassett for Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Hong Chau for The Whale, Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Janelle Monáe for Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery, Carrie Condon for The Banshees, Barry, how do you say his last name? Anybody help me?
Wait.
Keown?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Brendan Gleeson, Brian Tyree Henry, Ki-Hoo Kwan for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Paul Dano for The Fabelmans. Sean, just your thoughts on this core group here in the supporting categories.
I think they're pretty good for both of them. As far as like anything we did have some people I was surprised didn't get more or didn't get in, or I didn't see as many votes as I thought I would see. Like the one big one to me, I was disappointed, and I know we're going back on something, but like not seeing Claire Foy in there, I thought was the best performance of all those in Women Talking, even though it's a outstanding cast. But I mean, even so, the best supporting actress group, just looking at this list, I really like it a lot. I think I was very surprised that Hong got in there, but then again, at the same time, to me, that is the best performance in the movie. And I know that might be a divisive thing to say, but that's me personally. I think that is the best performance in that movie. But that was good. I mean, I was surprised, but happy to see her get in. And then like supporting actor, I mean, I think we know who the front runner is. I mean, when you have Kwan literally winning at every critics group, that was no surprise. It's also a great performance, but I was very happy to see Brian Tyree Henry get in for Cosmo. That was a great performance. I'm glad he got recognized. I think it was I don't think Apple TV Plus really marketed or pushed that film as strong as I thought they would, but that performance, I'm happy it's getting recognized, and I hope people don't forget it. And I hope our group, if they haven't seen it yet and we have time before final voting ends, that they consider viewing that. For that performance alone, it's worth it. So.
Phoenix had a couple comments. Babylon deserves our love. I agree 100%. Where is Lashana Lynch, which is a good, great performance, Woman King. I was happy to see Viola get in. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Christian, some thoughts on the supporting categories?
For supporting, for me, I was actually kind of surprised that Michelle Williams did not make it into the list, but that's just me. I just think her performance really moved me, and it was for anyone who hasn't seen the movie, I'm not going to give it away, but there's just a lot of uncomfortable situations where obviously what's going on, but the characters don't know. So you're like, oh my gosh, it's so frustrating. But I think that's what made it such a great movie. But I really like the supporting actress. Outside of Banshees of Inisherin, I just didn't see it. So that's kind of one that I was not able to watch before voting. But it's for supporting, like you guys said, even for like Claire Foy and even Jessie Buckley. It's like there were so many strong contenders for supporting actress, but I think we have a very stacked list here. I mean, Janelle Monáe was fantastic in Glass Onion, and Jamie Lee Curtis, I probably would have chosen somebody else, but I mean, I think she did a great job. It's just I think there are better performances out there. Like, I don't know, Michelle Williams, but that's just me. Angela Bassett, she deserves to be there. Like, and Hong Chow, like, oh my gosh, both are killer. And then for supporting actor, again for Banshees, I didn't see that movie. I love Barry Keoghan, but like you guys mentioned before, Brian Tyree Henry, I'm very excited that he got in this list because he killed. I love Causeway so much.
Same.
And I mean, you would think that Apple would push either Cha Cha Real Smooth or Causeway more because they literally walked away with Best Picture. A streaming movie walked away with the Best Picture, something that other services have been trying to do for a while. Haven't got there yet, but eventually they will, I'm sure. But overall, I think the supporting actress category is a little bit stronger for me outside of supporting actor. But overall, I think these are pretty good choices.
Don, what about you?
Well, to kind of piggyback off Jamie Lee Curtis, I would like. I personally wanted Keke Palmer in there. I
yeah,
man. Like that juxtaposition between her very fiery, spirited, personality, then her brother's the very calm. Like, it just worked very well, and she kind of stole every scene she was in. And Jamie Lee Curtis, like, while she was good in the film, it's kind of like you almost could have put anybody else there, and they would have done the same thing. But the rest of the list is it looks great on there. I mean, Janelle Monáe, I echo the same sentiments. I mean, who knew? We've seen her here and there, but to be in that kind of role and with a whole bunch of very well-known actors, and she bested all of them, And then, I love Brian Tyree Henry. Like Causeway, who knew that movie was going to hit that hard? And I think Apple's thing is like they do with their phones and everything else. They just have this like nonchalance of like, we're Apple. You'll figure it out. And it's like, no, they won't figure it out. What are you doing? They won't figure it out.
They keep giving Apple TV Plus away for free every time you buy a new Apple product.
And I feel like, there's like the before getting into this whole movie realm, critic realm, I was that same kind of person like everybody else that goes, why is this movie getting nominated? I haven't seen it yet or whatever until I got into the world and figure out the process. But when something like Causeway is that accessible and you're not pushing it at all, I mean, Apple has the opportunity to have pop-up ads on your phone because everybody has, or a lot of people have iPhones. You can do these things. They don't. There's Instagram ads. They don't do any of that. I don't understand.
They're too busy slowing down your phones.
Well, it's like what was it? Oprah famously said something like Apple's in 1 billion pockets around the world. Like they could push their streaming service, their movies, their shows if they wanted to. But it's a shame that it's kind of just it's out there. It's in the dark essentially amongst especially for this category and this performance.
And I think Paul Dano, he actually could have been on there twice. He could have been on there for the Batman.
Oh, yep.
I would have preferred for the Batman.
I agree. Oh, he was fantastic.
I try to keep the Fabelmans slander down to. I promise. I'll try my best.
I mean, I think it's going
to not top 5. This,
Yeah.
I think the supporting actress is one of the few that none of my 3 picks made it. Claire Foy is obviously my number one.
Mm.
One performance in Babylon that I don't think it's talked about enough is Jean Smart's performance, who I think is brilliant in that film.
Oh, yeah.
And Carey Mulligan and She Said. Those are my 3 in that category. But I don't hate these. I think one of the 5, maybe 2 of the 5 are deserving. Supporting actor, I love it. Tyree Henry was on my list. He's number 2 on my list. Obviously, I have Mark Rylance number 1, and I also love Brad Pitt in Babylon. But Kwan's going to win. I think he's going to run away with the Oscar. He's going to run away with this probably, and he's going to run with every other supporting actor along this way. So it's not really surprising to kind of see that. And speaking of running with categories, we're going to switch right over to the lead actor and actress performances here. Actress with Cate Blanchett for Tar, Margot Robbie for Babylon, Mia Goth for Pearl, Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and then, of course, Viola Davis for The Woman King. In actor, we had Austin Butler for Elvis, Colin Farrell for The Banshees, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Diego Calva for Babylon, and Paul Mescal for After Sun. Sean, I'm going to let you kick this one off. What do you think of these 2 categories?
Well, I think with actress, I think we kind of knew at least the top 2, at least they're in the awards conversation the most you see now, Michelle Yeoh and Cate Blanchett. I think that'll be interesting to see how we vote, especially with those 2, because those are the heavy hitters. But the other 3 are very interesting. Margot Robbie, like I said with Babylon, I was kind of surprised by the Babylon steam gained from our association. And Viola Davis, great performance in The Woman King. I don't know if I would have picked that one over Danielle's performance from Till. But I got to tell you, the Mia Goth one, Pearl, I was very shocked about this. But then a member reminded me that in the 5 years we have voted, for the 5 years, an actress that has starred in a horror movie has made the nomination list. We have a surprisingly good horror presence or horror-minded group in the association. And Lupita won for Us a couple years ago. And I know, what's her name from Hereditary? I'm already forgetting. Who?
Toni Collette.
Yeah, I know she had gotten nominated before, but I was surprised by Mia Goth. But then when someone reminded me, oh yeah, 4 of the 5 years, and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense now. And then of course, it's the 3 obvious: Butler, Fraser, Colin Farrell.
Doggo.
Which dog?
I'm a star.
I'm a star.
Literally will bark at anything or bark at their shadow. But anyway, but Colin Farrell, Austin Butler, 2 great performances. That was my 1-2 on my ballot right there. Very deserving. Fraser, I get the love for it, but I'm just not a fan of the performance or the film really that much. I think it's fine. But I got to tell you, Mescal, I was very happy to see that for After Sun. And Diego, Babylon, that was easily the best performance of the film. And the Babylon love carried it into Best Actor nomination. Was happy to see that. Not that I wouldn't have liked to have seen Tom Cruise as well, but if I had to pick one of who had the better performance there, it was obviously gonna be Diego over Tom Cruise. Even though I'm gonna be very curious to see how the Academy votes for Cruise, if they're just gonna be like, well, this is a victory lap, let's give it to him this one time. So. But,
yeah, I think
pretty strong.
A lot of people forget about Top Gun is if it gets nominated for Best Picture, he also gets the nomination there too. So, Dom, your thoughts on the actors category?
I'm a little upset. I didn't see Adam Sandler on there. I'm saying like,
wow.
I like Hustle, man. Like,
yeah,
I feel like
Adam Sandler and Hustle's better than Brendan Fraser in The Whale.
I feel like there's like at some point I feel okay, Brendan Fraser, right? I think people are looking more at the movie itself instead of the performance is great, but I feel like it's that whole trend of like, oh, well, everybody else said it, so I gotta say it too. But which movie for the general audience as well is going to be the repeated watch. It's going to be Hustle, and whose performance is great in Hustle? It's Adam Sandler. So I don't know why we're afraid as a collective critics community to go after movies that aren't necessarily these big, huge, dramatized everything, and go after some ones that like, I really love this movie. Because some of these movies, like, yeah, I can say that, you know, it's critically like it's shot this way and the cinematography and the score and all this, but I'm not going to watch it again. You know what I mean? And watchability or rewatchability is a big thing for me. And, you know, there's some movies that that are ranked, you know, the highest of the high that I'm just like, I'm not gonna watch it again. I'll watch it once and never again.
If I ever have to watch The Whale again, it'll probably be because somebody put a gun to my head.
Oh my god!
I'm on board. I hated The Whale. I walked out of the way. Like, I wanted to get it. It's nothing against Brendan Fraser. I don't think it's a Brendan Fraser problem. I think it's a script problem. I think the script is absolutely atrocious. You know, atrocity. I was so happy to not see that on our screenplay. But yeah, I agree with you. There is, I didn't know if you would have told me like 5 minutes ago the performance Dom was going to go to bat for was Adam Sandler and Hustle. I did not know that was it. And I love the performance. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean?
Well, look, I already know, my number one is Austin Butler. If he doesn't win, then we can throw hands. I like.
All right. So I don't do this often or tell people about it. So I'll give you one little peek behind the curtain about the Adam Sandler Hustle. I cannot believe when I saw the votes come in particular, that Adam Sandler's performance in Hustle got less love than Hugh Jackman's performance in The Sun. When I saw that, I was like, or like just looking at that right now, I'm like, really, people?
I didn't realize that many people cared enough to watch this thing. Holy cow.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't many, but like just to give you an idea of like, and I think that's one of the things, like one of the problems with Netflix is like, I feel like this year in general, outside of Pinocchio, is a really down year for them in general in terms of what they're trying to market and campaign. And I think what really hurt them, especially for a movie like Hustle, which I think if they had released that when the NBA season had started, I think they would have been in position to campaign it, and it would get some awards consideration for Sandler's performance, because once you get outside Butler, Farrell, and Frazier, it's going to be 2 open spots for the Oscars. And if Netflix had marketed this right, instead of dumping in the middle of the summer when you had Top Gun out and everyone was going to the theaters to see that for the 3rd time, they would have been in a much better position, and that would have been better remembered than it is now. It's unfortunate. It's just probably way too late for that one to get in, but that would have been a really good one. I just think Netflix just dropped the ball big time on it.
Yeah, I think they didn't. It seemed like they didn't quite know at all which ones they wanted to push, because a lot of the emails that I had gotten, I was like, this is the one you're going to push right now? Like, I don't know. But anyway, Diego, I'm glad he made it. That performance was great. And this is his first like American film, right? Like, that's crazy that he's popping up on a lot of people's lists. And Cate Blanchett, I feel like it's a runaway. Like, I feel like she's got the baton and no one's catching her. I think it's the most talked about performance I've seen online all year. So I feel like I love Margot Robbie. Mia Goth was a surprise, but I feel like Cate Blanchett she's just too strong to not win.
This was one of the categories for me where I put Margot Robbie at number 1, even though Blanchett's my number 1, just because I wanted that little extra point for Margot.
Right.
Babylon. But it's crazy. I do recollect the horror love in this group, because I remember talking about even last year before, I think it was. So it's nice to see it get love, because it deserves love. I didn't, like I said, Mia Goth, the performance itself is brilliant. I didn't love the film as a collective unit, but it's great.
She's definitely climbing as like one of the ones we're going to see in the top of every list in the years to come, because she's crushing everything.
Yeah, Diego Calva being in there for actor literally made my day. Austin Butler was like, I could have probably not put him on my list and known that he was going to be on the list, but I just wasn't going to do that because I think that he gave the performance of the year. I mean, it blew me away. Paul Mescal doesn't really surprise me. I know a lot of people in our group love that movie. I wanted to fall asleep, but I know a lot of people love that movie quite a bit. It's a movie I've been wanting to revisit. I just haven't had the time to. It's a movie. It's got beautiful cinematography, but I expected it in this group. I do. I know a lot of people in this group that love that movie, and I respect that the hell out of them for it because it's just a movie that didn't really resonate with me. But the rest of everything else looks pretty much there. You know what I mean? Like I'm not mad about these categories. Brandon Fraser. Like I said, no matter what I say, it's going to be one of those movies. Everybody, it's a performance that people like and love, and it's Brendan Fraser. You know what I mean? I think that plays a lot of it. But Christian, some quick thoughts on the actor-actress.
So for actress, I mean, it's pretty stacked. Michelle Yeoh was like my number one pick. I was kind of surprised. Well, I mean, actually, I'm not that surprised after we've been talking about it. For Causeway, I put Jennifer Lawrence down. I thought she
was great in it.
She and every movie this woman is in, she always delivers. Like it is without a doubt. Viola Davis being there, that is no brainer. Michelle Yeoh. I wasn't surprised about Mia Goth. A lot of these, I kind of expected Cate Blanchett to be there. I mean, she is phenomenal in that movie. Margot Robbie, I think she does a great job, but at the same time, I feel like she's just playing a character in which she didn't get to play in like Wolf of Wall Street altogether. I mean, I love her to death, but I probably would have put Jennifer Lawrence there altogether. For the actors, I did not see Elvis. I just don't really have like the drive or like the interest to watch a 3-hour biopic. So one day it's on HBO Max. I'll watch it one day, maybe, little serial bits. Brendan Fraser was like my number one. I grew up with the man. I thought he did a fantastic job. And I just love the message of, what, his character was trying to convey to the audience. Diego Calva, I think he definitely deserves to be there as well. For the others, for Colin Farrell, again, I didn't see that movie, so I can't really comment on it. For Paul, I thought he did a great job too, but who did I put down for best? You know what? I'm just saying it right now. I think Adam Driver did not get enough love as much as he should have. When you put Noah Baumbach and Adam Driver together, you create cinema, and I think he did a great job. But I just love Adam Driver, so that's just a little bias in me. But yeah, overall, I think I lean more towards the Best Actress category or the nominations over Best Actor. But yeah, it's nothing I wasn't expecting. No, like big surprises, but just justice for Jennifer Lawrence.
Just a quick note. I wish everybody would stop calling Elvis a 3-hour movie. It's 2 hours and 39 minutes to be exact. It's not a 3-hour movie. Big difference. That 20 minutes makes a difference. It promised you it does.
But does it feel like a 3-hour movie?
No, it doesn't. No. I've watched Elvis 12 times, so no, it doesn't.
Oh my gosh, really?
I've watched it enough for you and me both.
I just thought about, we should have probably nominated Ana de Armas just for all the torture she went through for Blonde, because
I'm so glad that didn't get nominated. I hate that movie.
She deserves something, damn it! Like,
well, she got a Golden Globe nomination. There's her participation trophy.
Yeah,
she gained enough, or she gained steam, but it definitely wasn't enough. I think, and I think with Michelle Williams. And I read where Michelle Williams, she probably would have gotten nominated for us if they had pushed her for supporting actress.
Yeah.
But they gave Michelle Williams the decision to go for either actress or supporting actress.
Really?
And so her going for actress, I think, is going to cost her.
She probably could have won supporting actress. Like,
absolutely.
Ran away.
but her wanting to be front bill for that, I think, is not just us costing, but I think probably entirely will. So
Yeah, I agree. We'll do picture and we'll wrap up from there. Picture, obviously we had After Sun, Babylon, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Nope, RRR, Tar, The Banshees, The Fabelmans, and Top Gun Maverick. A very, very divisive list that I love. Sean, first to you, what you think of that list?
I think it's a pretty good list overall. It's very unique. It's got a little bit of everything in it. I liked seeing, all these films that are on here, I at least liked to love. I have no real complaints. We knew the usual suspects were going to be there, like Everything Everywhere and Banshees and Fabelmans and Top Gun Maverick, but it was those other 7 that it was nice to see them in there, and especially for an animated picture like Pinocchio to get in there. For Nope to get in there was nice. It was really, really nice for RRR to get in there. Love that movie, and I love that our association has recognized it. Tar was an interesting one that I liked seeing too. I really enjoyed it. It was in my top 10 of the year. Elvis, I was kind of surprised, but not actually really surprised. I thought it was going in. It was going to be one of those. It's going to be one of those on the bubble films, but our association showed quite a bit of love for it, not just in picture, but in a lot of categories. But I was thrilled to see After Sun in there. That's a movie that stuck with me for quite a long time after seeing it, and I was glad we were able to recognize that one. And yeah, again with Babylon, I'm very surprised, maybe more surprised at the other categories he got nominated for, but it all led up to getting the Best Picture nomination, totaling to 10, second most for this year's nominees. So very good list, top to bottom. Like I said, liked or loved all these films. So.
Yeah, I think that's what I loved about this list the most. It's quite the wild list of have a little bit of everything. You got the big blockbuster in Top Gun. You've got the nostalgia factor with the Fabelmans. You know what I mean? You've got the strong performance in Tar, which I think Tar is obviously more deep than just that strong performance. But you have Pinocchio. You have the animated love there. And of course, you have Nope, which is a film I kind of expected to pop up more in other places than it did. But it's nice to see it here. You know what I mean? Because obviously when you're looking at it overall, there's a lot of movies, especially like Nope. I don't think any of the performances stood out to me to be like award worthy, but the overall film is so strong that it doesn't surprise me that it's in Best Picture. And of course, my love for Babylon and Elvis is widely known, so I can't really say much about that. After Sun, but the thing about After Sun, obviously, directed by a woman. You know what I mean? We have that factor in there, so that's beautiful recognition there. But it's also that independent movie that, it's like the little, I feel like that movie and RR is in the same boat. It's like the little engine that could type of thing. You know what I mean? Because both of those films there, RR not getting the Oscar shortlist or not getting the Oscar push that it probably deserved from the country that they didn't select it for, really hurt its overall chances, which I think that's why it's stronger in critics groups across the board. And then After Sun, it is what it is. A lot of people love that movie, and a lot of people love it for a reason. So, Dom, what is your thoughts of this overall bout here?
No, I loved how diverse the list is.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen very often. And as someone, for me, I consider myself somewhat of like the everyman's kind of critic, and it's kind of good just to see like the blockbusters. Like it's kind of rare that you see something like Top Gun being nominated for Best Picture in a lot of different lists, because a lot of us, y'all, especially working with Geek Vibes, you want the Black Panthers or the Spider-Mans and these things to get nominated all the time because they are these big blockbuster type films. But to see Top Gun in there and to see Nope, because it's kind of obscure a little bit too, it's great to see it in there. Pinocchio, I remember hearing everybody's thoughts about it. Everybody was like, "Oh, this is my top," but I didn't expect it. It was I was surprised. And then RRR, I saw that kind of late, and then I was like, "Yep, I can see why that is on there because it's a fantastic film." And the fact that a lot of these films are accessible to the general public to see before all these like final ballots come out, I think is great. So yeah, it's a great list.
Christian, any final thoughts on the list?
Like you guys said, the staples are there. I expected like Tar to be there. I was very surprised that Nope actually showed up on this list. I feel like I was a little bit more lukewarm on that film overall versus everyone else. But again, I've only seen it once, so I haven't been able to revisit it. So maybe a second watch will, change my feelings on that. It is nice to see at least like one, like, would you call the Fabelmans like a blockbuster? Because it is Spielberg, but I don't know. I'm not into.
It's one that I wrestle with. I don't know if I'd call it a block. I don't know. It's but you can't call it independent because it's Spielberg. It's like in the middle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's that gray.
I call it a lot of things. I'm not sure I'd call it a blockbuster though.
Yeah. Hey, I was actually very shocked that Avatar: The Way of Water did not make it onto this list. I was like, okay, I'm like, I know Top Gun's be there. I was like, I know Avatar's got to be there. It's not there. It's not there at all. But that's okay. Overall, I think it is a very diverse list. And everyone has their favorites, and I think this is probably one of the better outcomes we would have had because if it was up to me, people would be like, "Oh, what are you talking about, Christian?" But no, overall, I do like how diverse this list is. It shows that our association, we don't just watch one specific genre of movie. We like to, go outside of our comfort zone and test our boundaries, see what else is out there that we may like or may not like. You never know unless you watch it. So, but yeah, overall a very diverse and strong list.
Phoenix made a code. No love for Batman. I will say this. I was
going to say that too.
So like, Batman, but getting into stunt work, getting into action, getting into
it's got a lot
into cinematography, getting into score. I loved the fact that Batman had kind of resonated that much. I knew it would never be above the line type of scenario, but getting the love where it's not getting the love from other places, in my opinion, especially for that score, which is absolutely breathtaking, really makes me happy. So there's a lot of love for the Batman in this group, as you can tell if you look kind of below the line, which is something that I'm really, really pleased with.
And it's definitely probably in everybody's top 10, top 15. I know it started off really high, but it was so early in the year that
I'll never understand why they put it. It's like, yep, this is a spring movie. It's like, no.
It's just, I mean, I think where it's nominated is where you would expect it to be nominated.
Yeah. I think it shouldn't go higher than I wish Paul Dano was there for his supporting actress, but I don't think it was going to go higher than that if he was nominated. But yeah, I mean, it's just like Dune last year during the Oscars. I mean, yeah, it was nominated for Best Picture, but it won 6-7 awards in other areas, and it's just because it didn't win Best Picture, it doesn't devalue the movie. But I think that's something that people tend to forget when it comes to a lot of these, awards and stuff. It's just, everyone's got so many different voices and, they clash together, but sometimes that could be a really good thing because you don't want to have just the same type of movies appear for Best Picture, Best Actor, Actress, so on and so forth.
I mean, I had it number one on my list and my ballot, and I mean, my condo is literally I have the Batman right there.
I love it.
I literally have to my left and on the right screen Batman Funkos on it. As much as I love it, I don't even consider it really an action film. So I didn't even have it in my ballot on Best Action Film, and I was very surprised to see it get Best Action Movie nominations. So was very caught off guard by that, but whatever. So
I think people just think comic book movies, action, and then they just go for
my
it.
favorite action movie didn't make the list, and that was The Ambulance. So that movie is a banger. I don't care what anybody says.
No,
I haven't seen it yet.
I was like debating if I should put it on there or not.
Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you guys for joining me. Sean, before we go, I just want everybody to give a chance to plug where they can find you on Twitter and where they can find your work. Sean, go ahead and kick us off, man.
They can find my work at 615film.com. You can follow me on Twitter at SeanJ8. Follow our association at MCFCA 615 on Twitter, where we do all of our announcement stuff. We got voting is currently going on for the final ballot. We will announce on the 9th, beginning at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time on Twitter.
Perfect. Christian?
So yeah, thank you again for having me on. It's been nice to kind of talk about this, with our fellow Critic members here. But yeah, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Film Optics. That is Optics with an X. You can find our podcasts on all podcast platforms around the internet. At Film Optics again. That is Optics with an X on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it. So, but yeah, thank you so much for having me on. This is a lot of fun.
Dom?
You can find me on Twitter, which I don't use a whole lot, at King_Fish. I use Instagram more. That's at the Dom Fisher. You can find out the reviews on geekvibesnation.com, Geek Vibes Nation Twitter, Geek Vibes Nation TikTok, YouTube, Spotify. Just look up Geek Vibes Nation. We in there. Yeah, this is fun. First pod of 2023. Feels good.
It did. Thank you guys for joining me. You can follow me on Twitter at @RickyBler_. You can check out my work at Hidden Remote, Ready Steady Cut, the Music City Drive-In, Oscar Central. I think that's everywhere for right now. But as a reminder, Sean mentioned it, but I was going to remind everybody again, on Twitter, January 9th, you'll be able to hear the winners of the Music City Film Critic Association. I'm very, very excited that Twitter handle is MCFCA 615. Thank you, gentlemen. And maybe we'll have to do this again after the winners are announced.
Yeah. Just say when and where.